The second point, this case is a death penalty eligible case.
What his defense is telling the prosecution is you must prove this case.
Yes.
And does counsel join in that waiver?
I do.
The murder case shaking Hollywood has taken a dramatic turn. Nick Reiner has pleaded not guilty to the brutal killings of his parents. Legendary director Rob Reiner and producer Michele Singer Reiner, more than 2 months after their deaths.
All right, it was a fairly ordinary day in court, but nothing feels all that ordinary in this case. Nick Reiner appeared for the third time, and this time he finally entered a plea. He pleaded not guilty through his attorney. That's typical at this stage for all defendants, pretty much, no matter what their long-term plans are.
Inside a packed Los Angeles courtroom, his attorney, Deputy Public Defender Kimberly Greene, entered the plea as Reiner stood behind glass in custody. The moment marked the formal start of what could become a long and closely watched legal battle.
We'd like to go forward with the arraignment at this time.
Thank you. And on behalf of Mr. Reiner, do you waive formal reading of the complaint, advisement of rights, including armed forces and veterans' rights, enter a plea of not guilty, denying any and all special allegations, enhancements, and priors?
Yes, Your Honor.
Speaking to Associated Press, criminal defense lawyer Lauren Johnson Norris said the move was expected.
Almost every defendant enters not guilty pleas at arraignment and through the course of a case. So what his defense is telling the prosecution is you must prove this case, each and every element beyond a reasonable doubt. The question of whether or not someone did it does not necessarily translate to the same thing in legal language, because the prosecutor has to prove specific elements of crimes charged, not just whether or not there was an actual death. I don't try to look too much into what people look like when they're incarcerated. It's not an easy situation. And if somebody has mental health issues, it's hard to read too much into what's going on while they're incarcerated and what they look like. There are many challenges to folks who may have mental health issues outside in the streets, as well as while they are incarcerated. It's a different life. It's isolating. They're given access to fewer resources and things you might expect in your day-to-day life.
Prosecutors have not yet decided whether to seek the death penalty. District Attorney Nathan Hochman said the decision will follow a very rigorous process, examining all aggravating and mitigating factors.
The case is on track. We have provided the bulk of discovery to defense counsel, and we are now waiting for the coroner's report. When that is provided to the district attorney's office, it will in turn be provided to defense counsel. The second point, this case is a death penalty eligible case.
Lauren added that in legal terms, proving a crime is not simply about whether someone died, but whether prosecutors can meet every requirement of the charges.
I think that what will happen is the defense will go through all of that evidence, and I think that they'll be looking to see what type of mental health defenses they may be able to raise. They may have their own evidence that is not part of the prosecution's case that we just don't know about yet, the full scope of that. And so their job is not just to look at what the prosecution has, but to develop a theory of the case that's most helpful for the defendant.
For now, the case remains one of the most serious in the criminal justice system, with the possibility of either a death sentence or life behind bars if Reiner is convicted.
Along those lines, we take the process in which we determine whether or not the death penalty should be sought extremely seriously, and it goes through a very rigorous process. We will be looking at all aggravating and mitigating circumstances, and we have invited defense counsel to present to us both in writing and orally in a meeting any arguments that they would like to make in consideration for our going forward or not going forward with the death penalty. So that is an ongoing process.
Reiner has been held without bail since his arrest hours after the bodies were discovered. He appeared in court with a shaved head, wearing brown jail clothing, speaking only briefly during the hearing. He answered yes when asked if he would waive his right to a speedy progression of the case. His next court date is set for 29 April, when prosecutors will present evidence at a preliminary hearing to determine whether the case will go to trial.
The matter may be continued to April 29, 2026 as a 0 of 30 calendar days, with the understanding that your preliminary hearing may commence within 30 calendar days of April 29th. And does counsel join in that waiver?
I do.
Legal experts say the intense public focus is unavoidable. Johnson Norris said the couple were widely loved and that it is important for the public to see how such high-profile cases unfold.
Anytime there's a high-profile case, I think there is obviously extra attention on the prosecutor's office, on the defense. Folks are looking at every move they make, every filing that they make, every argument that occurs in court, as well as the defendant. What does he look like? What is his mannerisms? How is he behaving? And so all of those things are hyper-scrutinized because the public is following the case. This was a loved couple who many people were familiar with, not just in their community, but beyond, and all the work that he had done. So I think that in any high profile case, this is sort of going to be where the attention is looking and really understanding what happened here and how the parties are going to present that information. But I think that's a good thing because people don't always get to see the inner workings of the criminal justice system and how complex and often tragic cases occur, what type of evidence comes in or doesn't come in, and how the lawyers navigate that landscape. So it's important for people to be able to see these types of events unfold in the public eye.
The proceedings will now be overseen by Los Angeles Superior Court Judge Sam Ota, known for handling major murder and corruption cases. As the investigation continues and the legal battle deepens, one key question still hangs over Hollywood. Will prosecutors pursue the death penalty? And what evidence will ultimately decide Nick Reiner's fate?
District attorney has said that he's not taking the death penalty off the table. So that is a possibility. We don't see that in California very often, and I don't know whether they'll be able to actually obtain that sentence. But at this point, this case is being treated as the most serious type of case that we can have in the criminal justice system because of his exposure to potential death penalty. If he's convicted without the death penalty, is certainly looking at the rest, serving the rest of his life incarcerated.